The hospital hallways were quiet except for the soft beeping of machines and the occasional footsteps of nurses rushing by. In one part of Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, a familiar face to millions of reality TV fans lay in a hospital bed, injured, bandaged, and doing his best to stay positive. Alexei Brovarnik, the beloved husband from 90 Day Fiancé and father of 3 young children, was in the news after a terrible car accident the day before. He had been driving alone from Hallandale Beach, where he lived, to Miami, where he worked, when something went wrong. His car lost control near a busy intersection and slammed into a light post. The front of the car was crushed, and Alex hurt his arm, developed large bruises on his chest, and got cuts from broken glass. Witnesses said he appeared to be struggling with the brakes, trying to stop the car, but it was too late. Emergency workers arrived quickly and pulled him from the driver's seat. He was awake, but clearly in pain. An ambulance rushed him to the hospital, where specialists assessed his injuries. Fortunately, none were life-threatening, though they were serious. Alex has been in the hospital since the accident. Doctors said he would need to stay at least a week for monitoring, treatment, and rehabilitation. His fractured arm was put in a cast, his bruises were monitored, and he was observed closely to ensure no hidden problems developed. His wife, Loren, was by his side almost constantly. When she got the call about the accident, she rushed to the hospital in shock. Friends described the scene as heartbreaking. Loren held Alex's hand tightly in the emergency room while doctors worked around him, tears streaming down her face. Even after being reassured that he was safe, she struggled to calm her fears. Inside the hospital room, the closeness between Alex and Loren was clear. Nurses noticed Loren adjusting his blanket, brushing hair from his forehead, and reading letters from friends and fans. Despite the pain from his injuries, Alex tried to make Loren laugh whenever he could, lifting her spirits and showing his strength. Their 3 children stayed home with Loren's parents, who shielded them from the details of their father's injuries. Loren would speak to them through video calls, telling them their dad was resting and would be home soon, trying to stay brave for their sake. After the calls, however, she often broke down, unable to cope with how close they had come to losing him. Life in the hospital settled into a quiet routine. Nurses checked vital signs, doctors adjusted treatments, and Loren stayed late into the night watching over Alex. The quieter hours were the hardest, as the reality of the accident settled in. Loren kept thinking about what could have been worse. Outside the hospital, news of the accident spread quickly. Fans and cast members from 90 Day Fiancé offered support online, sending prayers and messages of encouragement. Popularity also brought unwanted attention, with some speculating about the couple's private life, which added to the family's stress. Doctors told Alex and Loren the road ahead would be tough, but manageable. He would need weeks of physical therapy and some pain would linger, but his recovery was expected. Despite everything, Alex expressed gratitude for being alive. "I'm lucky. It could have been much worse. I'm glad I'm still here for my wife and kids. That's what counts," he said quietly. Loren, meanwhile, reflected on how fragile happiness can be and leaned on Alex's strength while promising to be his support as well. "This has been the most terrifying thing we've ever faced. But I know we'll come out stronger. Alex is my rock, and I'll be his now and always," she said. Even after the first days, Alex remained in the hospital with Loren by his side. Each day brought small victories, less pain, a little progress, and the hope of going home. Fans waited outside, eager for updates, but for Alex and Loren, the headlines didn't matter. What mattered was love, healing, and being together. The second night in the hospital was quieter than the first, but the sense of unease remained. Alex rested on a pile of cushions, his arm in a cast and sling. The bruises on his chest were dark and painful. Every breath and movement reminded him of the crash. Monitors around his bed flickered and hummed, a constant reminder of the close attention he was under. Loren sat nearby, exhausted, adjusting blankets, playing with her phone, and rubbing her temples as she tried to hold back worry. Even when tired, her eyes rarely left Alex. He noticed her fatigue. "You need to sleep, babe," he whispered, his accent showing his exhaustion. Loren shook her head. "I'll sleep when you're home." "I don't want to sleep and wake up," she said, pressing her lips together as tears formed. Alex reached out with his good hand and lightly brushed her arm. "I'm not going anywhere. I swear." Despite his words, neither could forget the sight of the wrecked car or the blood. The near disaster weighed heavily on both of them. The following days were much the same. Alex received regular hospital care and visitors, slowly improving. Nurses managed his pain and encouraged short walks down the hallway, which hurt at first but gradually became easier. Loren walked beside him, always ready to support him if he needed help. Seeing him move, even slowly, made her both proud and anxious, proud of his strength, worried about his fragile body. At night, Loren read the messages of support from fans and friends to Alex when the hospital was quiet. "We're praying for you, Alex. Stay strong, Brovarnik family. We love you all," the messages said. Each word reminded them they were not alone, giving them courage to keep going. Through the long days and nights, Alex and Loren leaned on each other. Every small improvement was a victory. Every moment of laughter a relief from the stress and pain. The accident had brought fear and uncertainty, but it also highlighted their love and resilience. Together, they faced recovery one step at a time, finding hope in the little things, and the knowledge that being together was the most important part. The kindness of strangers gave Alex and Loren courage, even though it sometimes felt strange to have their private pain on display for everyone to see. Alex felt comforted knowing people cared. When Loren read him a note from David and Annie that said, "Heal quickly so we can eat together again," he chuckled quietly. These reminders of their larger TV family helped them feel less alone in the hospital, which was quiet and sterile. On the fourth day, Loren's parents brought the kids for a short visit. Loren had been torn about letting them see their father with bruises and bandages, but the children were anxious at home, constantly asking about him. Their small voices brought warmth to the otherwise cold hospital room. At first, their eldest hesitated, eyes wide at the sight of Alex's cast. But when Alex smiled and reached out his good hand, the child carefully climbed onto the bed and hugged him. "I missed you, Daddy," he murmured. Alex's eyes shone as he kissed his son's head. "I missed you too, friend," he said. The younger children clung to Loren, unsure of what to make of the tubes and machines. But curiosity soon outweighed their fear, and they began asking Alex questions. For a short while, the room was filled with laughter, and the accident seemed less heavy. When the children left, Loren lingered behind, feeling a mix of gratitude and lingering fear. She wiped away her tears, torn between thankfulness and the memory of what could have happened. Alex held her hand gently. "They need us to be strong," he said softly. "I know," Loren whispered. "I never want to feel that kind of fear again." As the week passed, Alex's health slowly improved. He could sit up longer, walk down the hallway with more ease, and manage small tasks on his own. Yet the emotional stress was harder to overcome. In the quiet of the night, when the pain was less sharp but sleep still far away, Alex replayed the accident in his mind. Losing control, the sound of metal crushing, and the helplessness as he realized what was happening. Even when he said nothing, Loren could tell. She noticed the way his eyes would drift and his jaw tighten during moments of silence. Loren tried to distract him by reading humorous fan comments or telling stories about the kids. She wanted him to remember that life existed outside the hospital. One night, after teasing him for milking sympathy while he was injured, Alex laughed, a real, sincere laugh despite the rough edges. Pointing to his bruises, he said, "If this is milking it, I never want to milk again." The jokes eased the tension, if only for a moment, and they were just Alex and Loren again, husband and wife, partners in love and life. As the week continued, excitement grew about Alex's release. Doctors confirmed he was improving, but reminded them that weeks of rest and therapy at home were still necessary. Loren began mentally preparing, planning for the kids, meals, and adjusting the household since Alex could not move around easily. She felt relief at the thought of taking him home, but also anxiety about returning to public life, where the accident was now a widely discussed story. Fans, reporters, and critics would want updates and maybe even a TLC follow-up. Even during private recovery, the pressure of being in the spotlight weighed heavily. Still, when Loren looked at Alex, tired but hopeful, she knew what mattered most. The rest of the world could wait. For now, their focus was on healing and being grateful that he was alive. On their last night in the hospital, Alex held Loren's hand and said, "I don't want this to define us. I just want to go home, be with you and the kids, and move on." Loren rested her forehead against his and whispered through tears, "That's all I want too." Their time in the hospital, though short, had left a lasting mark. It had been full of fear, gratitude, exhaustion, and resilience. They endured sleepless nights, painful recovery, and the stress of public attention, but they also found strength in each other, their children's smiles, and the gift of a second chance at life. On the morning of discharge, Loren packed their small belongings. She looked around the room, at the bed, the monitors, the sterile walls, and felt a mix of relief and fear. The hospital had been frightening, but it had also been a safe place for Alex to heal. She knew they could face what came next as long as they were together. Alex moved slowly, tightening the sling around his arm. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Ready," Loren repeated, her voice steady even though tears fell. Together, they prepared to leave the hospital, leaving behind the scariest week of their lives. They carried not only the physical reminders of the accident, but also the memory of what it meant to survive and love without holding anything back. Even though the ordeal was over, the experience had strengthened their bond. They had faced fear and vulnerability together, and they had emerged more connected, more aware of the fragility of life, and more appreciative of each other. Alex and Loren left the hospital not just with scars, but with a renewed sense of family, love, and resilience. After leaving the hospital, Alex's recovery continued at home. The first days were slow and careful. He moved with caution, his arm still in a sling, every step reminding him of the accident. Loren stayed close, helping him with meals, bringing water, and making sure he rested. Their home, usually filled with the laughter and chaos of 3 small children, now felt calmer, almost too quiet as everyone adjusted to the new routine. The kids were excited to have their dad back, but they quickly realized that things had changed. Alex couldn't pick them up or play the same way he used to. He would sit on the couch, holding them close when they climbed into his lap, smiling through the pain, while Loren managed the rest of the house. The children asked many questions, sometimes repetitive, sometimes hesitant. Alex answered gently, careful not to frighten them, reassuring them that he was okay and would get stronger every day. Loren often joined in, adding her own comforting words and explaining why their dad had to move slowly. Even simple tasks became a challenge for Alex. Carrying plates, bending down, or getting out of a chair required concentration and effort. He grew frustrated at times, especially when he wanted to do more for the family. Loren noticed his frustration but reminded him softly, "You're healing, and that's what matters. We'll get there together." Her presence, patience, and encouragement helped him keep going. The emotional side of recovery was harder than the physical. Some nights, Alex would wake from dreams of the crash, his body tense and his breath quick. Loren would sit beside him, holding his hand, whispering reminders that it was over and he was safe. Sometimes she would read fan messages or funny comments about their TV appearances, trying to bring a smile to his face. Other nights, they would just sit together in quiet, letting the comfort of being together fill the space. They didn't need words. Simply holding each other was enough. As the days went on, Alex slowly regained strength. Physical therapy sessions were painful, but he approached them with determination. Loren stayed nearby, ready to help him balance, cheer him on, and ensure he didn't push too far. The therapist noticed his effort and encouraged him, praising small victories like walking a few extra steps or lifting his arm higher than before. Every tiny improvement became a celebration, a reminder that he was healing and life was moving forward. The kids became part of the healing process too. They loved helping in small ways, bringing Alex a pillow, asking about his day, or just sitting with him while he rested. Their laughter and curiosity filled the house with energy and lightened the heaviness that had followed the accident. Alex and Loren realized that these moments, though small, were helping them all recover emotionally. Loren also had to adjust to her own fatigue. Caring for an injured spouse while managing the children and household was exhausting. She often stayed up late after putting the kids to bed, checking on Alex, making meals for the next day, or writing down reminders for appointments. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of purpose. She knew that being strong for Alex and the children was crucial. Yet, she allowed herself small breaks, leaning on friends and family for support, and accepting help when offered. The couple began to reflect on the accident and its impact. Alex admitted moments of fear and vulnerability that he hadn't shared before, and Loren listened with patience and understanding. They talked openly about how close they had come to tragedy, and how that experience changed their view on life and family. The conversations were emotional, sometimes tearful, but they also brought a new level of closeness. They realized that surviving together had deepened their bond in ways they hadn't imagined. Social media continued to bring messages of support. Fans shared encouragement, well wishes, and stories of overcoming their own struggles. Alex and Loren read some together, feeling the warmth from people they had never met. While it sometimes felt intrusive, the couple focused on the positivity and reminders of their wider community. They even laughed at funny comments and shared little updates with fans when they felt ready, but the priority was always family first. Gradually, Alex regained confidence in small actions, walking to the mailbox, preparing a simple snack, or playing with the children in short bursts. Each small victory reminded him that he was moving forward. Loren noticed subtle changes too. His smiles became easier, his patience returned, and the spark in his eyes, dulled by pain and fear, grew brighter. Together, they began envisioning a routine that would accommodate his recovery while still keeping the family life active and joyful. The accident remained in their minds as a cautionary memory, but it no longer dominated their thoughts. They accepted that life was fragile and unpredictable, but also realized that resilience and love could overcome even the scariest moments. They learned to cherish small daily joys, a shared cup of coffee, the sound of laughter from the children, and moments of quiet connection between husband and wife. Weeks passed, and Alex's mobility and strength steadily improved. Therapy became less painful, and he could perform more tasks independently. Loren, proud and relieved, saw the determination that had always been a part of him shine through. They celebrated milestones together. The first full walk down the street, the first dinner Alex prepared without help, and the first time he picked up the children for a proper hug. Each small accomplishment was a victory, not just for Alex, but for the whole family. The experience also left a lasting impression on Loren. She realized the depth of her own strength, the capacity for care, and the importance of patience and support. She knew that life could change in an instant, and she felt grateful for every moment she spent with her family. She also became more protective of Alex, aware of how fragile life could be, yet also trusting in his resilience and their shared ability to face challenges together. By the end of the recovery period, Alex was nearly back to his old self. He could move more freely, lift the children, and participate fully in family life again. Loren felt a sense of pride and relief, knowing that their teamwork, patience, and love had carried them through a terrifying experience. The accident, once a source of fear and uncertainty, had transformed into a story of survival, unity, and hope. Even with the ordeal behind them, Alex and Loren continued to be mindful of the lessons learned. They made more time for family, celebrated small moments, and approached life with a deeper appreciation for each day. Their bond had strengthened through the shared struggle, and they carried forward a sense of gratitude that touched every aspect of their lives. The family returned to a sense of normalcy, but the memory of the accident remained a quiet reminder of their strength. They embraced life with a new perspective, knowing how close they had come to losing it. And through it all, Alex, Loren, and their children discovered the power of love, resilience, and the preciousness of every moment spent together.